On today's Minute of the Apes, I can't tell because I have no sense of smell. Does it smell like boys in here?
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The divine bomb.
The only good human is a dead human! Where there is fire, there is smoke.
The minute of the apes. 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 Yay!
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd, and I've got two things to say off that tease and the opening music, and they both pertain to Sean.
that?
Sean made mention of, does it smell like boys in here? That comes from my daughter. When we record at my house, we come in my little Star Wars Batman room, my music room, and Abby inevitably walk in and say, it smells like boys in here when you guys leave.
I mean, I fart a lot.
That's what
Is
I
that
was
what
gonna
it
say. I'm
is?
assuming that just
I
means
have
farts.
no idea.
Your farts smell like boys?
I'm trying to imagine what it doesn't. I don't. Just it doesn't register. I don't know what boys smell like in this context.
I don't really know either. It's just one of those arbitrary things. And none of us have BO or
Well, I
anything.
know. Like I'm checking right now. I don't smell anything weird.
I'm one of those people that no matter if it gets above 30 degrees, I'm probably going to sweat. I'm just that kind of person, but I don't stink.
Well, okay. I think what she's saying is it smells different. You know how that
Probably so.
the idea that you don't smell your own house.
Yeah.
Because you become accustomed to the smells, in it,
Right.
so it doesn't smell unusual. But when somebody comes to your house, they smell something distinct,
Right.
Not good or bad, just something different.
Which I'm always mortified of what people smell when
Well,
they
same
come in
thing
here.
when we go down to Austin and we're down to Austin for a couple of days. We come back to our house with the 4 dogs. I'm like, oh, my house smells like dogs, and I don't
You're
even
not
register.
smell
it.
blind anymore.
Right.
I don't register it when I'm in the house. Maybe she just says it smells different.
She's 18. That's
All
what.
right.
And so the other thing I do have to say that kills me, Sean, is that when that theme music plays, so I always wait for the guitar chord holds and goes, and then the way you make that, you just slap your hand on the strings and make a clunk. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You've never once been able to figure out where that bump comes because I'll see him go, and it's about a second later, and I'm like, okay. It's just a
That
fun.
describes his dancing too.
There you
Is that right? Do you have a dance game? You have so many different games that you do.
A game? Like, what do you mean?
Well, you've got your whole Oculus type thing. And
well, back when Microsoft had the Kinect was on the Xbox, there were some dancing games that you could do with that. You
We
remember
played
that?
it. Yeah, we played a few times. Yeah, there's some videos of me like doing some weird dancing stuff.
I think we had one for a little while with the Kinect for
Yeah.
Abby which makes I'm going to use our platform to tell you a fun story with the Oculus thing. So you have one of those
Yep.
systems, and you've let me play it before. With the pandemic this year here in the town that I'm from, they had the prom for the kids actually at our football stadium, so they could be very spaced out and all this kind of thing. They've always had an after prom where they turn to local businesses, to keep the kids from going out and drinking and being stupid. And what the businesses would do would be they would donate prizes, and the kids would have a casino night. And if you won enough chips, you could
Get a
go
raffle or
you
whatever.
could you could go get something. Well, the businesses kind of went overboard this year because they were all like, oh, these last year they didn't even have a prom. We want this one to be special. But they couldn't do the casino night because they couldn't have everybody touching all the chips. So we literally, the kids would come in and they would play Plinko,
yeah.
and whatever ticket they got, they would come over and get a different kind of prize. Well, one of them was an Oculus system. Well, here was the thing. There was no real nature to which we could choose. It was just my discretion. I waited for the nerdiest of nerdy kids, and he came and goes, I got a gold ticket. What does that mean? I said, hey, would you like an Oculus system? He went, yeah. I went,
There you go.
and it
That's
was
what
like a
means.
super nice one. I mean, like
Yeah.
all kinds of. I have never taken more joy than putting that thing in that child's hand. All these kids could take their things and they could get a ticket and leave it. I'm not kidding you. That kid carried his around through the prom all night long. He was not letting anybody. I was like,
This is not walking away from me.
I've been meaning to tell you that story. I knew you would appreciate
Yeah.
that probably more than anybody else because Sean just drinks in so much of that kind of stuff.
They've got a Star Wars pinball game in VR where you can sit there and play it like you're playing.
It's
a regular
incredible.
game. And Boba Fett will fly over you.
Oh, really?
And Baby Yoda will be there. And
The
Grogu.
Jaws one, that was fun because you're playing it and all of a sudden you look down, the shark kind of comes at you.
Yeah,
You're
but this
standing
is
on a
like
platform.
and you can also play from within the actual pinball. You can like be in there.
Okay, the
machine.
next time we get together, I want to see that.
Yeah.
That's enough of all those fun stories. Let's talk apes. We are at minute 63.
63.
Sean, please tell us what's going on minute 63.
All right, we start minute 63 with Culp saying he wants it to look like that city we came from, and ends with the female doctor saying that Caesar should go to Corny.
All right, here we come. Minute 63. Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I want it to look like that city we came from. What the devil is all that rubbish down there?
Looks like some sort of barricade, sir. Nothing that a couple of flame bombs won't take care of.
Caesar, forgive me, but I couldn't get here before now. Aldo has seized power. He's broken into the armory and imprisoned all humans in the corral.
MacDonald.
He was dragged from the council meeting by Aldo's guerrillas.
I can't leave Cornelius. He needs me.
Every ape and human in Ape City needs you. Now.
I think you should go to Cornelius.
As minute 63, we have a village worth of apes and humans, plus a ghost city worth of radioactive people, and still no Ricky.
All right, visually, real quick, what we get is the Kulpanation. I was going to say culmination, but the Kulpanation. The Kulpanation of his vision for what needs to happen in Ape City. We see a barricade through the foggy mist.
Do we?
We see some stuff. And what I dig, we get his right-hand person who's wearing goggles, not quite as rose-tinted, but he puts his hands up beside his face like it's to help, to help him see what's
better.
going on.
I can see farther.
Yeah.
With blinders on.
He may have on new sneakers and he runs faster too. But then we get a little bit of Virgil with Caesar, a two-shot, before we finally get word that Caesar might want to come in. And even though he just left him, he might want to come in and be with his son. So there we are with this minute. Let's go off the top with our two ding-dongs looking down.
It's the dialogue is not in the script. Somebody wrote it for him. It sounds like he memorized it 2 seconds before walking on the scene because he just stumbles a little bit on the whole line. I want it to look like that city that we just came from.
Which makes me think they said that city that we came from because we've never officially identified what city it is and where we are located.
Oh, you thought he was going to name the city itself?
Yeah, I wanted it to look like Chicago. Or,
but it's a weird thing for Culp as a mutant leader to say he wants to decimate them like the city they're going to go back to. Like it sounds like
it is a weird thing.
It sounds like he should be saying we're here for the spoils.
Yeah,
but like, I need him to say something like I don't. We're going to go back to our shithole, so we're going to make this place a shithole.
If he had Mendez, that was the guy that was the voice of dissent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If he had him with him, and the conversation was, let's say, Culp said, "I want to destroy the city the way they destroyed ours." Mendez then was like, but we could change our lifestyle. I don't, I want them to suffer, and you show them maniacal back and forth, that would work. But when you've got Mr. Cup your hands around your goggles, just backing you up, you're in trouble.
I don't know why they didn't bring Mendez, the actor, to come along and actually play that
foible
to him because he needed it.
He did.
He needed it. And the dialogue was weak and he stumbled over that city we came from, and there's also a lot that happens really quickly. The guerrillas have built a barricade in a short period of time. We go from Aldo, taking guns to 2 seconds later it being dawn, and they've barricaded, and guerrillas are non-existent. Like everybody's hiding.
I like when Culp says, "I want it to look like that city we came from." I wanted his assistant to go, "Sir, we don't have any matte painting artists on it."
Yeah. Okay. So we've got binocular handhold.
Right.
Why can't they pass the binoculars between each other? Why this would read so much better were these tight shots of binoculars and then pass it and they're sharing the information and having a conversation instead of this weird two shot. And I know that's another setup and that's more time, but
Or
Still.
just give them both binoculars.
We wanted a reason for Virgil 2 minutes earlier to be behind trees. There's a reason for these two guys to be behind trees.
Absolutely.
And not completely and totally exposed.
Okay, so now let's talk about the...
Well, hang on, we got how many flame bombs are going to take care of the barrier? Who calls it a flame bomb?
That's the elephant in the room to me, is the sudden shekel garbage barricade?
Yeah.
Okay, when did they decide to build a barricade?
Well, that's what there's just a jump in terms of what they could make and do, and we didn't see Aldo and the Gorillas doing any of it.
Yeah, I mean, when Aldo said, round up the humans, and he could have also said, and this division go start building
if they had
fortifications.
simply said that 10 minutes ago.
Or have Aldo and the Gorillas start working on a barricade for the humans and him going, we need guns.
Right.
And that's why their motivation to go to the armory is.
So then we also have... So the shots of the two guys on the hillside is in a very blue sky behind them. I guess it could be dawn. I guess it could be dusk. I'm sure it's supposed to be dawn. Is the fog supposed to be a morning fog that's there? That's rolled in?
I assume that they didn't have any control over that. Did they?
Well,
did
no,
they?
you can use fog machines and.
Did they put a fog so they couldn't see the city? Because I can't tell from the shot if it was supposed to be, if it was just nature that was happening and spoiled their ability to do something, or if they had actually thrown some fog in there to make it hard to see what was happening inside the city.
I don't know. There are, going back to Sean's point about that if Aldo had simply called for the construction of the barricade, he could have said and light bonfires to make it hard to see smoke. Anything like this. There are moments coming next, because I actually made my notes for next week last night. I had to ask you guys, and you both apparently were asleep, what minutes we were on. I was ahead. And it gets into a smoke bomb discussion at one point where I'm like, they're weird smoke bombs. If you're going to use smoke, then talk about it. Say that's our ally may be that they can't see us. Give us these things so that when we see it, we are part of the moment.
When we think about what we've seen so far of Gorilla City, this kind of morning fog or mist has not been present. So it's kind of an unusual thing to suddenly see, unless it's manufactured. And we didn't get a note about whether it's manufactured.
Neither. So if it is we have fog in this area in the mornings, you're right, we should have talked about it. We should have seen that. Someone should have said something, and then they could talk about the fog can be our ally for once. They can use that kind of thing.
Even have Culp reference it.
Right.
Reference the fog.
All right, so then we cut over to the long moment between Caesar and Virgil.
I guess in the future, apes don't knock on doors before they come in. They just let themselves in. Geez, Virgil, we want some privacy.
Well, you've seen they're constructed of really shoddy bamboo. I mean, it wouldn't really.
Yeah,
be hard
it wouldn't hold up
that
to much.
Door open. Yeah, Virgil just walks in, updating Caesar on everything that's going on, and Caesar is just so nonplussed about the whole thing that I'm really concerned about his ability as a leader itself. I'm like, you're not. I
mean, you're not donating blood. You're not. There's literally nothing you can do just by sitting by your side.
I do get that. If my child's sitting there, I would be.
But if you were also running a city,
but I would turn to Virgil at that point and say, I make you commander. I would do something like that because I'm not going to leave my kid's side. I'm not.
I suppose that's why he asked where McDonald was. We were supposed to assume that Caesar says McDonald because he's looking to somebody who can actually kind of take control over this situation. But it's just so. I can't leave my son. He needs me. Every ape and human in Ape City needs you now. I guess the nurse gets a pass on being corralled.
Oh, I was going to say, well, she chip blocked him because Virgil almost had him maybe ready to go out, and then she comes up and says, hey, you need to go sit by yourself.
Okay, so when we start corralling humans, when we get to that point when this happens in the movie, she's at least in that hut, and they're not going to go to Caesar's hut.
They're not gonna upset him or.
Yeah, they're probably not going to do that.
But it's hard to imagine the connectivity of the city itself that Caesar and Lisa and the nurse in that one hut would not recognize something unusual happening outside.
Well, okay, and again, when we get into future minutes, let's remember that conversation because there were many times when we cut back and forth into this hut for the rest of the movie where it's kind of like, hey, World War III's going on outside.
Yeah.
And you people are just kind of,
Didn't hear about the barricades. Didn't hear any of the
Cannon
commotion
fire
going
or
on.
whatever.
Yeah, didn't hear the humans screaming in town when they were corralled up. And
You can have suffering for your child and concern over your child, but when you hear what's going on outside, it at least makes you look and interact and acknowledge. So this is the beginning